Artificial intelligence, AI, is on the quickly approaching horizon and is set to change the landscape of work in an unimaginably large swath of areas, from coders and graphic designers, actors and actresses, lawyers and doctors. But will the public trust AI to handle their emergency calls for service and dispatching their police, fire, and EMS units to them? This is the modern day question of will John Henry rivet faster than the steam engine? And this is Lifeline. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Lifeline 911 with your host, Erica.
Hello.
I'm your co host, Gary, and today we are going to be discussing the use of artificial intelligence in emergency services work, a topic that is on the mind of many in our field, as it is on the mind of many in many fields, I'm sure.
Yeah, seriously. I've been thinking about it and I'm not sure how I feel. It's scary, but I can see some benefits. But what I don't like is the idea of it just taking over. As a citizen, the notion of calling a 911 center and it not being a person, I don't know.
Hmm. Right. And so AI, as it's known today, is not really AI as you think about in the movies where,
Like,
there are the robots that come around and destroy all humanity. That happens, in a couple of decades. Right now, they're basically large learning model LLMs that take in a lot of data and process it and then spit out an answer that's coded. So it's kind of, we're moving in that direction. But
sure.
uh, anyone who's ever interacted with AI, such as like ChatGPT or Grok or
Gemini,
Gemini, thank you, the
Pilot,
Google
yeah.
one. I couldn't remember the Google one, but yeah, that's it, Gemini. You know that it can process a whole lot of data. Um, it still deals with things like what are known as hallucinations in AI, which is when it kind of just spits out something absolutely insane, and you're like, "Whoa, uh, why did you
That was
draw this?" Yeah,
that was nothing like what I asked. What's happening? Yeah.
yeah. Why does this lady have six fingers on her hand when I ask her to, draw one for me? Um, and those are the types of concerns that people would have for any emergency services, I'm sure, because you wouldn't want hallucinations getting lost on the call.
Exactly. And we were talking before the show, and we kind of got into some spirited conversation about it. I think I think it's you're right. I think it's on the horizon. Well, actually, I take that back. It's here now. There are agencies all over the country that are using AI in many ways. They are assisting with non-emergency calls, taking some of the burden off of what would be your 911 dispatcher or call taker, depending on the type of PSAP that you have. You are that one person. You answer both lines and the radio. Just one and two and maybe even depending on what the circumstances are, three-seat PSAPs that they're literally like moving a mile a minute trying to do all of these things. I can absolutely see where AI would be an amazing addition to that staffing model, if you will, because especially if they could take over the non-emergency calls or at least filter them. We have systems in place now that can help filter, but they more or less direct. If you need this, press one, or if you need that, press two. But like our non-emergency reporting system, it guides the person that's making the report, and depending on the answer they give, it shunts them in a different direction. So I can absolutely see that being a benefit. We have a huge 311 system. Sorry if anybody that works at 311 is listening right now. No offense, but it would not break my heart for AI to come in and clean that up.
Yeah, I mean, um, it's a big topic, so I guess we can kind of talk about it. by kind of breaking it down into the pros and cons, maybe.
Mhm.
Um, so, um, obviously you have pros, which are if you can have the computers take these calls, they'll take them all unerringly, or rather, as erringly as they are programmed by errant humans
Mhm.
to take. They'll never need a break. They'll never need a pay raise. They'll never need a day off. They'll never have an emotional issue. They'll always be right up to date with whatever the latest policy is. They'll never need training on that. They'll never backtalk you. They'll never get sassy with the callers. You know, they're cheaper. They'll never form a union. Um,
It's true. They won't ever strike.
yeah, um, they'll have unlimited patience with callers. So if
See,
you've got
I don't know about that.
okay,
And the reason I say that is unlimited patience, as much as you can program it to never pop off at the caller. But if the caller's going round and round and round and round and round, how does AI more or less say, stop talking?
yeah, I mean that would have to be something that is designed into the system. Like you'd need like it to say after 3 attempts to try and get the answer to this question, move on, or initiate protocol for stern voice, something like that. It would be a different level of programming than AI has ever been used with. When you call your bank, and
Hmm.
you talk to the AI thing, it's like, where are you trying to reach? And you're like, I'm trying to talk to a human being. And you have to say that like 5 or 6 times, and then finally it'll shunt you over to an actual human being.
Yes.
Something like that, in essence, or even more stern than that.
Okay. Well, and that's where, for me, how do you teach it? And then this might be a little too technical, but I'm thinking about, how do you tell it? This is where you firm but stay professional. Firm on what level? Firm to what degree? How do you teach it to move around a conversation and hear, what's that in the background? Wait a minute. What was that? So many of the things that we do are, like I think you mentioned before the show, human intuition. And I'm not sure you can teach that. That's not to say that it cannot do certain things, but I'm of the mindset that it's going to be a hard sell that it can do the job, not better than I can, just in the same way that I can.
Okay, sure. I think that the most important element in defense of AI for that purpose is that
You would pick the defense.
yeah, I'll be the pro AI on this. That'll be fun. Um, is that how do you teach a person to do that? So if you have a brand new call taker or dispatcher, how do you teach them to say, "Hey, you need to firm up what you're doing because you're letting this conversation get away from you." You practice, right?
True,
Okay.
true.
The way a, and I'm not an expert in artificial intelligence, but I have watched YouTube videos on it, so I'll talk to that. Um, the way
Are
AI
you
learn,
fans of Star Treks where they have whole doctors and whole medical staff that are not real people?
right? But the way AI generally learns in a lot of ways is almost akin to a teaching method. So when they were working on trying to teach cars how to drive with AI, they would sometimes, basically load up the AI into like a Grand Theft Auto and have them drive around town using the physics of that. And they then they would like the car would like crash all the time and hit people, and then it would get better and better at learning how to avoid that. It you can make it learn in a sense, and
Okay.
it's just repetition. And the cool thing is, once you've got it to where it's learned what it needs to do, then you just make as many copies of that as you need to answer an unlimited number of calls.
Yeah.
Whereas with people, you know, it takes, you know, 3 months, 6 months, a year to train them on how to do that. And then when you're ready to add another person, you spend 3 months to 6 months to a year to train them how to do that.
And thousands upon thousands of dollars teaching
Yes.
them how to
And you
do
never
that.
yeah. And you never know if it's going to be successful. Whether they
That's
just
true.
don't they just don't get the understanding, the grasp of the job.
Mhm.
Their life priorities change.
True.
Uh, they have to they decide to go somewhere else. There's
Yeah.
so many things, and it's it's really a very interesting, because it's almost like comparing sewing like a dress or something by hand to running it through a factory that can print it out, you know, print it
Yeah,
out, sew
you're
it
not.
out.
Yeah, well, mass production, right? You and sometimes the quality is even better than you're able to do by hand if we're talking about that.
Hmm.
So I think I said this before the show started. I don't doubt that we're going to get there. The question is, should we go there?
Yes, yeah. Ultimately, that is really the multi-billion-dollar question, won't it be?
Yeah.
Will people accept that,
Hmm.
and will that be ultimately a better thing? Because I think undeniably, if you could replace everyone in emergency services with an uh, inerrant artificial intelligence that would never lose patience, always be there, always be able to correctly, you know, translate what's going on.
Sure.
If that's the case, what's the benefit of humans? But then that really opens up the question of, well, if the AI can do that, and then it can also make music. I think the Billboard 100 had the number one on the country list was an AI generated song last week. And if it
Wow.
can also make commercials, do you need
Yeah.
what point do people have? So it's really, you know, not to get too big with the question, but
Yeah. You're not, I mean, you're not wrong, but these are the things, because I asked the question. What's funny, because I think you kind of chuckled when I told you what I wanted to talk about today. It's like I'm sitting, in the doctor's office, and I'm looking, and I just, knowing we were gonna film today, I'm like, is AI ever going to take over 911 calls? And the answer I got back was no. According to experts and industry leaders, they don't believe that it'll ever take over fully. But
of,
it's being used to assist those who do the work,
of,
by taking some of the load off. Huh?
of course, Skynet would tell you it's not going to take over. Come on now.
True.
Yeah.
But and then we don't know that. But the question becomes too is, when that happens, how soon will it be? I don't think it'll be in the next couple of 3 years, because we've got enough people right now that are just not feeling AI, in the sense because they're worried about it being Skynet and coming in and taking over all our jobs and killing off all the humans, by nuking our food or infusing our food with all kinds of weirdness, and we all just die off. I mean, it can get really crazy. But at the end of the day, where we are, I think, in society right now, we're just not there to where we would in mass accept that for something like emergency services, because
Sure.
there's just a lot that it would have to learn. It would We talk about experience all the time, and 20 plus years and 15 plus years, whatever it is. I think it's 15 plus for you, right? I can never remember.
17, but yeah.
17. Yeah, so 15 plus, 20 plus, together our experience is, how do you pour all of that into an AI computer? All of the things that we've seen, all the variations on the same thing that we've seen, the ability to problem solve, not that it can't problem solve, but it can only problem solve to the degree that you program it. And yes, you still have to, it can learn, but there's input there to cause it to learn. How do
Okay.
you infuse all of our years of experience in there?
Pro QA. So Pro QA is used by many centers, and it's the culmination of many people with many, many hundreds and thousands of years of experience combined that have come up with questions and what order to ask them. Like, so if you, for example, for medical, they'll triage a medical call in a very specific way, and it's answering question one, two, three, and those answers lead you to the next question that you need to ask based on the the years of experience of the dozens and dozens of people that got together, industry experts, and wrote that. And so if you're in a center that uses ProQA, the idea is that every call is done the exact same way with that scenario built in, and you're leveraging all of the knowledge that went into the creation of that script to give the best service possible. The same exact thing could be done with AI.
It could, but there's still a human running ProQA.
Yeah, but why? If all you're doing is asking questions in a specific order that's already been predetermined.
Because there is still a level of knowledge that wasn't programmed into the system. There's still opportunities for you to be like, hold on, wait, now say that again. And yes, you're not supposed to deviate, but you're not encouraged to. Let me put it like that. You open up, I guess you kind of open up the agency to liability if you do. But there are times when it is absolutely okay because you as the human know, okay, well, hold on. There is a variant, there is a variable here that was not accounted for because you just can't account for all of them. There's just no way to do that. Uh, I really think that AI can do the job, but I will continue to go back to the question. Just because we can do something doesn't mean we should do it, or should we do it just because we can do it?
That's an excellent question, and it was also a line from Jurassic Park, was it not?
Yes, it
Um,
was. Yes. I think it was
um,
the was it the doctors when they first got there and the guy in the whole all white outfit. Why would you
uh,
wear a all out white outfit in a place like that? But never mind.
yeah, it was Ian Malcolm when they were sitting around the dinner table, I believe. But yeah, but going back to your point on that specifically, many agencies discourage their operators from deviating from that said script because of the liability issues. Because
Sure.
many agencies would rather risk a less than optimal outcome to avoid liability for breaking any tort laws, uh,
Uh-huh.
rather than go off the beaten path to try and find out what's actually happening, or using that intuition that we,
Yeah.
you know,
And it's
improve.
again, it's discouraged but not forbidden. It is because of judgment. And that is where I challenge AI because there is still judgment that is required.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't use the judgment and experience that you have in favor of not deviating from a script or doing it exactly this way, like with the steadiness of a metronome for crying out loud, then that becomes the question when the outcome is not optimal.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you? That's why we are paying you for the years of experience and expertise. And this is why critical thinking, not that you cannot teach this to AI, not that it cannot learn it. I mean, we know that it can learn to do just about anything. But should we do that? And will the public at large accept that? And here's the other question. Do you tell them that it's not really a person? Or you just pretend like you're calling your credit card company?
Yeah, that's another issue and a part of, not only social laws and moral equivalences that we're going to have to kind of navigate as a culture, because if you can swap something in, uh, and it's not even recognized that you're not getting the thing that you really think you're getting something else, but you can't really tell. I mean,
Is that okay?
yeah,
No, it is not. Because when I call and when I call my doctor's office to make an appointment, I don't care if it's a person or if it's a machine that sounds so much like a person. Give me my blast appointment. Let me go on about my business. Hi.
okay.
But when it
Well,
comes to something like this is a different thing.
sure, but like think about it. Like when you go to your doctor's appointment, um, unless most of what the doctor will do initially is kind of ask you questions. How are you feeling? What hurts? Where does it hurt? When does it hurt? Did anything happen to you? Has anything changed in your diet? All of these are questions that you could ask on the phone to AI, or if they wanted to create a visual little doctor, you could, like, kind of right now. Um, we could both be AI and not even know it. Okay, now
You
that's
know
getting
how
way
we know we're not AI because we've got the accents to prove it.
because we screw up way too much.
Absolutely. And I'll take the human equivalent all day.
Hmm.
There.
But yeah, I think, like, because we were kind of discussing in the show, like it's almost going to be like, I think, a dam. So you're going to have so many jobs and positions where they're going to be threatened by well, they're going to be threatened to be replaced by AI,
Mhm.
and there's going to be a lot of people, myself included, who are in sort of intransigent of letting that happen because we're worried about so many issues like, oh, I can't have my doctor replaced by a computer, I can't have my you know uh, emergency services replaced by a computer. But I think once a little bit of that crack starts to happen, the whole thing is just going to break wide open, and
And like
you're
you
going to
said
see.
with the internet, but I think the internet, your example of the internet, look at how leery people were and concerned people were about the internet, and they had all these horrible scenarios running through their collective minds about the internet and how it would take over and blah blah blah, and they weren't necessarily wrong. And there are so many wonderful things about the internet, this show being one of them.
The most wonderful thing, really.
Of course. But look at the headaches and the heartaches and some of the unintended consequences that have come as a result of internet being anywhere and everywhere. These phones that we carry all the time are amazing, but an unintended consequence was the fact that people can't hardly look where they're walking because they're face down into the phone.
Yeah.
Kids don't play outside anymore. And I know this is not AI, the conversation, but this is just, what could be the unintended consequences of replacing, like there's a company out there right now that says quite literally, I will not say their name, but they said flat out, we could replace a whole 911 center with the AI technology that we just acquired. I was like, I had to cut
Excuse me.
down. I'm like, excuse you? First of all, that's not something you say with a straight face, sir. You say we could help replace the non-emergency, or you put some sauce on that or put a cherry on top or something. Don't say it as if it was just not a big deal at all. Get rid of all the humans. I'm still offended by that. Can you tell?
I yes, I can, but
Ugh.
I mean, the the only thing that's I mean, you do have that argument for the human element of the intuition and all that. The only other thing that may uh, elongate the careers of people in emergency services are that it's a government bureaucracy, and so that's always extremely slow and inefficient. Case in point, we just got off of paper timesheets a few years ago at our organization. Um, I'm talking writing it down on paper. Like, this is before
Well,
most of y'all were born.
well, it wasn't like lined ruled paper from school. At least it had, it was an Excel sheet that was printed out and you had to fill in the stuff, Gary.
Yeah, yep, you're right. You're right.
That
That's
ain't right.
that's
You have the people think that we just
um, but it's got you talked about the acceptance of that, and it's going to take some time to kind of change that. Because when that guy was, or whoever you were talking to, said that I can replace the whole center, that it's true, because you could have an entire center that's not really located anywhere, fielding unlimited numbers of calls in unlimited numbers of languages, it instantly and with 100% accuracy for how it's written. So, and cheaper, much cheaper than it is to have
And the
people there.
benefits and all the things, yeah, the vacation time, sick time, and
Yeah. So you've got, and like back in July, I think we had an episode about city workers that went on strike in Philadelphia.
yeah,
You wouldn't have that. That wouldn't threaten your city's ability to maintain its infrastructure.
yeah.
And you could
Can you
take that.
imagine what that would have been like? No offense, Billy. Sorry, but the truth is, I mean, oh, you want to strike? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Deuces. I'm
deuces.
gonna flip the switch.
Yeah, and it
Talk
it's
about the impact again, unintended consequence against collective bargaining.
hmm yeah. Anytime
Collective
that,
bargaining would not be so collective anymore.
no, it'd be all thrown out. So anytime that people in our industry make gains in terms of better wages or fringe benefits or whatever, that's
Mhm.
also going to move us one step closer to, oh, this would be a much better financial decision to replace.
And the argument would be the taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, yeah, because you could either reduce taxes, that's never going to happen, or spend the money
They're never gonna.
elsewhere.
They just won't raise them again. Did they? What you want a refund? No, that's not happening.
um, so, yeah, that's going to move in favor. And going back to your point on the internet, for people that are, I don't know, say 25 and younger, you probably don't remember, in fact, you don't remember, like a world without constant interaction and communication.
Mhm.
But it was different. Like, you cared about people, you interacted with human beings. Like, you'd go out to Blockbuster on Friday night and you see all your friends there, be like, what are you getting? What are you watching this weekend?
Yep. Yep.
You'd ride your bikes. It was a different world entirely.
And actually, like going outside and I don't know. I think I've heard somebody say, I think like touch some grass or something is a new thing, and that's supposed to mean go outside and interact with nature. Whereas right, is that what it is? I think that's what it
I
is.
I think it means get offline and interact, not necessarily just with nature, but just be in the real world, because you're
Okay,
sucked way too much in line.
same principle. Whereas for me, I was talking to my husband, I think it was this morning, and we were chatting about that, and we were told, go outside. You're bored? Go play. Actually outside. Get out of the house and go play outside. Go ride your bike. Go read a book. You said that to one of my nieces and nephews right now, they would loot. What? I suggested that they walk to the corner store not too long ago, and they looked at me like I had grown a whole other head right before their eyes. But look at the internet for that, and look at these cute little phones and gadgets, stuff that you can carry around in a small bag, and it is a constant source of entertainment. In that's good, but also bad unintended consequences. And I think that there are a few that we as a society will experience if we get there. That just
Yeah.
means we got to go talk to somebody who does that. I don't know if it's going to be that fella because I'm still not sure I'm okay with him right now, but
Well, I think that would make a very lively debate for sure. But yeah, it's coming to many industries near you, and it it may eventually come to the emergency services, because it's, if it can get dialed in and people can feel safe and comfortable with it, just like they do with, like, we've got cars in our city that are fully automated and self-driving taxis.
yeah.
um whether people trust that or not is remains to be seen. It's going to have to prove itself with a record. But once that happens, why would you pay a human being to do that when you could save so much money and have unerrant issues and no complaints
Yeah.
from a robot. It's a huge topic. It's the topic of the 21st century, no doubt.
I'm done
Yeah,
talking about this.
we're now that we're both depressed here. Okay. But we would love to hear what y'all think about it because it's going to be affecting everyone, no matter what your industry is. So
Yeah.
if you have any thoughts on it, especially in relations to emergency services, like would you feel comfortable having an artificial intelligence taking your emergency call? Yay or no? And,
Mm.
um, I'm very curious about that. I wonder if there's a way we could put out a poll or something. I don't know.
You might have to figure that out. You're the numbers guy. Go for it.
Yeah. But yes, we hope that you've enjoyed us on this discussion, and we will probably be doing a follow up on this. I
Oh
think
yeah. This is not a
because
one and done. You can't just leave this one hanging like that. No.
yeah. But yeah, we hope that you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, please make sure you leave us a like and subscribe. And if you're just listening on the podcast, we hope you enjoyed listening along with us as well. From all of us at Lifeline 911, I'm Gary,
America.
and we will see you next week.
Thank you for watching our production of Lifeline 911. If you have any questions about today's topic or topics you'd like us to cover in the future, please reach out to us at lifeline911podcast@gmail.com. This has been a production of Lifeline 911 Podcast, copyright 2025. From all of us at Lifeline, stay safe out there. And until next time, this is Lifeline 911 signing off.